The following program is a PodcastOne.com production.
From Hollywood, California, by way of the Broken Skull Ranch, this is the Steve Austin Show.
Give me a hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Now, here's Steve Austin.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Steve Austin Show. I am coming to you from the Silver State. I'm at the Broken Skull Ranch 2.0 out here in Nevada. Just rolled in from my deer hunting trip out there in Unit 034, about 80 miles outside of Winnemucca up there towards the Oregon border. And, man, I had a absolute blast out there. I was out there with basically zero technology. I got a whole slew of things that I'm going to talk about on my Thursday podcast, so I'm not going to jump into them today, but I didn't know who won the D.C. Daniel Cormier, Derek Lewis fight. I called my buddy Joe Romero last night on my way home to give me the 411 on it. Didn't hear about anything, so it's always interesting when you try to get away from technology, but you're just curious. You always want to see what's going on social media. But when you really get out in the middle of nowhere and it ain't available, you don't miss it, and you're just able to concentrate on the task at hand, and that was trying to find a deer, enjoy life, enjoy the outdoors, take in your surroundings, get your face out of your phone. On one hand, it was hard to communicate with my wife because the reception was just a drizzling shits. Internet basically did not exist. I didn't even get on my phone other than I got a gimmick phone. I'll tell you about that on my Thursday podcast. And that thing didn't work worth a shit either. I'm not very excited about that. I'm going to take that sumbitch back and get a new SIM card or a new phone or get my money back, and I'll bring you that story on Thursday too. But hell, man, I rolled in last night, I think about 12:30 or 1 in the morning. I can't believe what it was. I got my last hunt in. I threw my shit in my truck. And hell, I threw a pair of 35-pound dumbbells in the back of my pickup truck with all the rest of my shit like I was really going to work out there. And I'll be damned if that ain't the one thing that when I was spinning up out of there last night, getting ready to make a long-ass damn drive, I knew I was forgetting something. You know that feeling when you're going down the road and you just hit, God dang, I'm sure I got everything packed up, but for some reason it really feels like I'm forgetting something. I've forgotten my effing dumbbells, my 35-pounders. I was just going to do curls, some just one-arm tricep extensions, some shoulder presses. What's that gimmick exercise when you got the dumbbells in the palms of your hands, you're doing a push-up and you do a row, and then you do with the other hand. I was going to do some of those. I was going to do a little bit of everything just to stay tuned up. But hell, when you're getting up at 4 in the morning, you're cooking your breakfast, you're cooking your meals for the day, you're drinking your coffee, and then you load up, and then you leave at about 5:36. It's an hour to the stage in there. And then you hunt all day, and then you drive all the way back. By the time you get it back to the crib, it's 7:30, and then you got to get all your shit together to eat, get ready to go to sleep. I ain't get a chance to work out the entire time. 4 days I didn't get a workout in, but I did hike a lot. I did walk a lot, up and down the mountains. I got some exercise in. Drank zero alcohol. I think the guys that I was hunting with were shocked that I wasn't drinking alcohol because usually during deer season, that's when I drink the most alcohol. But the fact of the matter is, I put myself on a program. I'm following the program. The diet was pretty much on the money. Didn't really deviate too much from that. I was square. Didn't get the workouts in, but zero alcohol. I remained true to my commitment, which I made to myself. And we'll get into that and another story. So I was happy about that. But God dang, if there's one thing that chaps my ass is when you forget something and it's about 300 or 400 miles away, you're hoping somebody else brought it back to the Reno area so I can get my hands back on my dumbbells and start pumping them some bitches again. But anyway, I'm not going to ramble a whole lot on this here podcast open. I got about an hour's worth of questions that you guys sent in to me, and I thank you so much for sending me those questions because I'll tell you on the Thursday show, but I had to cut a day off my damn trip just to get this podcast in. If I hadn't had you guys to pick me up and help me out, I would have been really up shit creek. So I saved a few other the questions for another podcast, and I'm going to use those and I'm going to answer them. So thank you guys very much for listening to the podcast to begin with, but for sending me those questions. Some of the questions that you sent in were repeat questions, so I just didn't, answer those questions again. Trying to keep it fresh, but it is what it is. without any rambling and doing any more bullshit, let's just go ahead and get to the podcast. I'm out here in my shop. I just put this room together. I've got this big-ass 5x7 Kawasaki rug. It's kind of like a shop rug underneath me. I've got some furniture pads out on the cement floor. I need some more soundproofing in here. I've got deer heads everywhere. This is going to be my podcast compound. I'm going to put my neon clocks and my deer heads in here, get this place all slickered down, get some soundboards up. It's right next to my gym. I can open a window and I can see the gym from here. So it's just a cool setup, and I'm going to decorate this. It's going to be my getaway spot. A little soundproof, and we'll be ready to go. But let's stop rambling. Let's start podcasting.
This is the Steve Austin Show.
All right, everybody, let's get this thing cranked up. I got Moolah on my left-hand side and Callie on my right-hand side. They're both sleeping peacefully. I'm located in my shop, answering the questions you guys sent in. Appreciate you guys helping a brother out in a time of need. First question comes from Libby over there in Howell, New Jersey. Libby says, "Hey, Steve, I've been a fan since Hollywood Blondes days. I love the podcast. My question is, have you ever thought about putting your podcast on YouTube in video form? It would be great to be able to see you and your guests shooting the breeze. Thanks for all the entertainment over the years." Libby, thanks for the question. Thanks for watching all these years, especially going back to those Hollywood Blonde days. I'm telling you, when I first got news that I was going to be in a tag team with Brian Pillman, I was not happy at all. But we took that ramshackle tag team, turned it into the Hollywood Blondes, had great success in a short amount of time, got over, and then we got split up. But I appreciate you bringing that up. I really miss Brian Pillman, and I love the days when we would ride down the road together in a Chevy Lumina van with Raven or Scotty Flamingo or Scott Levy, whatever his name is. The comedy trio. Man, those were the good old days. Riding down the road, shooting the breeze, talking about the business, living the business, and going from town to town. So thanks for watching all these years. But as far as, putting this podcast in a video form on YouTube, I've been thinking about that for a long-ass time. When I first got into the podcast business, I wanted to start a year before I got started. I just didn't know what to do as far as how you get started with the technology and all that other stuff. And I got a call from the people over at PodcastOne, and my agents asked me, "Hey, man, do you want to do a podcast?" And I said, "You damn right I do." So that's how we started this podcast 5 years ago, however long it's been, over 500 shows. And I love the video format. And I've been to a couple of shows who do the video format. X-Pac 12360, I was on his show. And he's over in a studio, and it's real interesting because they have these, efficient cameras. Thing is really well done. Sean's in there. He's got his team in there, a couple of people working behind the scenes. So I think I can handle it. I'd love to do it. Maybe that'll be something I try to get going in 2019. But, man, the thing about those podcasts is some of them are so damn animated. I think that's where a lot of the hijinks and humor comes from, because some of the ones we've had in the past, it's just, especially when the Good Brothers came in, Carl Anderson, Luke Gallows, and all those guys. Man, you talk about a wild time, man. That was just a tremendous get-together, drinking a shitload of beer and having fun. So I'd love to be on a YouTube type thing, video type thing, whatever you want to call it. I am going to check into that as the coming months go by, and as we get into 2019. I'm not going to rush into it right now, but I'll do my research, and maybe we'll see the podcast on YouTube as well. I know everybody else is doing it. I'm always late to the ball game. I just kind of drag my heels when it comes time to technology and stuff like that. I'm kind of a stick in the mud, as I don't really like change. But the video format is very cool. The YouTube views are a lot different than the downloads. Very similar to the audio podcast, and many people listen while they're driving to and from work or traveling. But yeah, a lot of people like to watch those conversations. So I'll check into that, and you might see that happen in 2019. Next question comes to me from Sean. He says, "Hey, Steve, a long time ago, you had a podcast with a dude showing you how to make neon lights. You said it was something you were going to keep at, but I haven't heard much since then. Just wondering if you're still making neon, or if you said, F it. Swig of beer, Sean." Sean, I tell you what, I have been wanting to get into the neon light making business, making signs or clocks or whatever. Turns out my buddy Curtis from Curtis Clocks on Instagram and Twitter, he's working on a clock for me right now, as a matter of fact. He's doing some repairs on an old clock that I bought from him about 9 years ago. It's a big-ass, two-sided industrial clock that hung up in a warehouse somewhere in Los Angeles, and it was double-sided, so depending on which side of the shop you were in, you could see what time it was. And it was red neon. I'm having it changed to aquamarine, and the clock wasn't working on either side. It wouldn't keep perfect time. So he's putting two motors in there. He's making the tubes aquamarine green. I'll put a picture of that on my Instagram when he gets done with it. Turns out Curtis just didn't have time to teach me. That guy is so busy, and he custom makes clocks, and he's probably the best clock maker as far as neon goes in the United States of America, as far as I'm concerned. All hand-built, all American stuff. His construction, he's been doing it for years. He's awesome at it. And he does not have the space in his shop for me to sit there and just bend tubes and practice while he's trying to get work done. Now, I did meet the guy that operates out of Reno, which is nearby where I'm at. But it's a pretty damn good drive to get to and from Reno every single day when I'm here at the Broken Skull Ranch 2.0. So it's just too far away. So to answer your question, I haven't proceeded to learn to do anything regarding neon. I'm trying to do it. I would love to do it, but right now I ain't got time. If I could just get over to Curtis, over at Curtis Clocks, and he could just teach me, because you can buy those tubes pre-bent. You can buy them in certain diameter circles. And if you just have, the frame or the can, the bezel, the glass, put the artwork on there, the moving parts, that's not a hard, manufacturing or put together process. So I know I could handle that. So if I could go over there, build maybe 5 or 10 clocks with him and film it, well, then I'd have that video footage to go back and watch and see, what I'm doing as far as a step-by-step process. So I could do it that way and eliminate me having to actually bend the tubes myself, but I could still be in the clockmaking business. And it would really give me something to do when I have my thumb up my ass and I need something to do other than working out or hunting or riding my buggies or whatever. So I'm still on it. I would love to do it. It's been a goal or a dream of mine to have that kind of hobby where I can actually create something and create, art, if you will. And because of the fact that I am so enamored with time, complete type A personality, OCD about everything time related, man, it's right up my alley. It's just that one little thing. One dude's too busy, other dude's too far. If I can get in there with Curtis and make some, we'll go from there. Appreciate the question, Sean. Swig a beer back at you. Here's a couple of questions. I got a couple of questions from Sean Frost over in Tulsa, Oklahoma. He just sent in a shit pile of questions, so I just kind of copied and pasted some of the questions he wrote in. Thanks for the question, Sean. I appreciate it. And we email each other quite often. Sean will have a question, and I'll send him an answer. But anyway, the question from Sean is, Steve, of the breeds of dogs you've had, which was the easiest to train? Man, I tell you what, in my adult life, what I've had has been a couple of Staffordshire Terriers, which is basically an AKC registered, pit bull. And of course I had a white pit bull that I rescued from, South Georgia when I was hunting with Paul Orndorff way back in the day. And if you know anything about my history, that dog's name was Sam. And Sam passed away many years ago. We finally had to put him down. That dog was born in South Georgia. Moved with me to Atlanta, Georgia, went with me to Texas outside of San Antonio, then came out to Los Angeles, California with me, had a great life, and then finally we had to put him down. Sam, he wasn't the smartest dog in the world, but you talk about it. He was a great, great dog, and so was my Brindle staff named Abby. She was super smart. Abby would do every trick in the book. She was very, very smart and easy to train. Sam, he was a guy. He was a guy's dog. When I got in the truck, he'd jump in the back of the tailgate, and that's how we rode in Texas. That's how we used to do it. He'd be in the back of my 1988 Ford F-150 four-wheel drive, and I took that sumbitch with me everywhere. And now that I've been married, with Kristen for 14, 15 years, all we've had is labs. And when we met, She had a lab rescue named Brio, and she had a black lab named Shona. And then so, I started living with her, and we had those dogs. And Shona was Kristen's favorite dog. Well, Brio was too, but he was a rescue. She rescued that dog at about a year and a half old off the streets. And then we got Hershey. And then, Shona and Hershey are no longer with us. They both passed away. We had to put them down. Hershey was super smart. Man, that was my baby. That was my pride and joy. Being down there in South Texas, I'd take her deer hunting with me every single time I went. If Hershey saw me get up and grab a rifle, or if she saw me pick up a set of keys, she got up and was just looking at me with those little brown eyes of hers, man, and she knew she was going. And sometimes we'd be out there and I would be looking for a deer or whatever. And Hershey would always, when I found the deer, I always kind of smell the deer. And then one time I was having a hard time finding a deer. And all of a sudden, Hershey just starts busting through the brush. This is the brush country of South Texas. And she's not a bird. I mean, she's a bird dog technically because she's a chocolate lab. But we never hunted her because, the guy that got her from didn't hunt her. I didn't really use dogs for hunting. I was never down there to bird hunt anyway. And Hershey knew what I was looking for because she had smelled all the deer before. That dog taught itself how to track a deer. And I cannot tell you how many deer Hershey found for me. So she has been so smart. And Moolah right here beside me is very, very smart. Callie, on the other hand... she's going to be a good dog, but she is in training right now. I'd say I've had equal success with the Labradors and the Pit Bulls. I think they're both really smart breeds of dogs. I'd probably give the edge. I might make some people mad. I'd probably give the edge to the Labrador as far as the intelligence, but the Pit Bull's a great, great dog that I really, really love. And sometimes, obviously, I get a bad rap for the obvious reasons. But my experience with the two I owned was phenomenal. They lasted a long time, very lovable, very affectionate, just very loyal. They're just great dogs. But these labs, they've been easy to train. These damn dogs we got, Callie's kind of like turning into my new Hershey. We'll probably get another chocolate lab in about another year. We kind of want to space them apart because when we had to put Shona down and then we had to put Hershey down and man, it was just kind of like, that was after Brio and then I was after Sam, and it's kind of like rapid fire fashion because those dogs were all senior citizens at the same age. So we're trying to kind of spread them out. I desperately want a chocolate lab because that's my favorite color of the labs. I think their personality is just a lot softer and more lovable than the other labs. That's my opinion. Yours might be different, but we'll probably get a chocolate lab in about a year. But right now, Callie's kind of turned into my shadow, and I'm enjoying it because, man, I love that little dog, and she has so much potential. It's going to be interesting to see how she goes. But anyway, I would say the labs would be easiest. I'm just rambling just because, hell, I'm just shooting the breeze on this podcast, and hell, I can ramble. I don't think you just want a yes or no answer or say, okay, yeah, the Labrador was easiest to train. So I'm kind of just spinning shit up and telling you how it is.
Right now, North America is the center of the soccer universe, hosting the biggest sporting event in the world. 48 nations competing for world status, and our Stars and Stripes are off to a great start in their group stage matches. And BetOnline has you covered with all the updated odds, player props, and contests for the whole tournament. In between games, be sure to visit the casino and poker rooms for more Vegas-style action. Enjoy the freedom of online gaming at BetOnline, where the action moves with you and every moment is yours. Bet on at BetOnline.
Sean goes on to ask me another question. Steve, I know you got a Corvette now, but what was the most reliable supercar, like Porsche, Mercedes, whatever you've owned? And what was your favorite truck you've ever owned? Well, let's talk about them cars. Man, a supercar. I don't think I technically ever had a supercar. I mean, I had a 911 Porsche. I had a 911 Porsche twin turbo. And, man, that twin turbo was fast as hell. I actually liked the regularly aspirated Porsche better. That twin turbo was just too fast. It just wasn't that fun. The other one, you could really wind it through those gears. That's Mercedes SL 500, SL 55, S500. I had two Porsche Cayenne turbos. One was a pile of shit. The other one got wrecked. They were good. Mercedes, no problem. So I can't say supercar. I'm on my 4th Corvette. I've had 1 yellow one, 2 silver ones, and I sold them. I wish I would have never sold them. That's the only reason I got this one. And because, I got an outstanding deal on it. It was used with 1,000 miles on it. So someone had already taken the hit, or I would have just probably brought just a regular Corvette Stingray, because I really don't need 650 horsepower and 650 pound-feet of torque. But, for the money, I couldn't pass it up. So I'm looking forward to putting some miles on that as soon as I get finished done with this podcast. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go down to Walmart and buy me a scale so I can check on my progress on my eating program. Being back from a 4-day hunt out there in Winnemucca, I pretty much stuck to my diet just like I'd planned on, and 0 drinking. So I hadn't put alcohol back in the system yet, so it'll be interesting to see what I'll weigh. Body composition the same. So anyway, supercars, man, those 911 Porsches, you can drive those things every single day, and they just last. Mercedes probably the same thing. The Corvette, I'll keep you posted on that. But that Porsche is a daily driver. They're tanks. The favorite truck I've ever owned, man, I've owned so many damn trucks, I can't keep track of them. Like that 2003 Chevy Z71, it's got 81,000 miles on it. That's my truck that I run errands around here in town with. That's the truck that I take down to the shooting range and I put all my stuff in there. If I'm going to go ride my four-wheeler or my buggies or something like that, that's what I'll either load that up in and take that out to BLM. I love that pickup. It doesn't have a whole lot of power, but that's a badass pickup truck. My new Chevy Duramax, that thing is unbelievable. I got the crew cab, 4 doors, short bed. Man, if I had to do it again, I would get a long bed pickup. That short bed is great for working around town or navigating around town. But, man, that's a work truck. That's a 3/4 ton diesel. And you just need to be able to stuff as much stuff in the back of that thing as you want. You want to be able to drive your four-wheeler in the back of it and have the room to shut your tailgate and put some other shit back there. When I put my Brute Force 750 in the back of that truck, I cannot shut the tailgate. Buddy says, hey, get you a tailgate, get you a bed extender. Well, you can get a bed extender, but your tailgate is still down. So I just got finished driving that truck 600 miles, 700 miles, whatever it was, back and forth to the unit where I was deer hunting. And I was pulling my Kawasaki Mule and my utility trailer, and you couldn't even tell the damn trailer was back here. So I love that pickup. But, man, when I go back to, that 1988 Ford F-150, I used to drive down there. But when I go back to that 1988 Ford F-150 that I was running down there in Atlanta, Georgia, when I was working with WCW, that's what I was taking down there to South Georgia to hunt with Paul Orndorff and Rick Rude. And I was just a single cab, 4-wheel drive, long bed pickup. I believe it had the 351 in it. Got real shitty gas mileage, 4-wheel drive, chrome spoke wheels, white leather tires. It was just a good-looking truck. It was nothing special. It was scratched all the shit, but that was a badass pickup truck. And my best memories of that is being in that black truck and have old Sam, the white pit bull in the back of it, standing on top of my spare tire. That was a good truck. 2 of my other favorite pickup trucks that I had when I lived in Denton, Texas, I was training at a place called Myotech Gym, owned by Dan Canales. And there was a lady in there whose father had passed away, and he had a 65 Ford step-side pickup, 64,000 original miles, straight 6-cylinder, 3-speed on the column. I bought that truck from that lady. I moved down to Georgia to work for WCW. And I had that truck down there. And then my neighbor had a 66 fleet side Ford pickup truck around the same kind of miles, not in quite as good a shape as mine. I was second owner on that 65. Oh, God damn, that thing was in good shape. Anyway, having a wife and a couple of kids, getting fired from WCW, working for Paul Lee, ECW, then getting a call from Vince McMahon to come up to the WWF and be the ringmaster. Well, that meant that I didn't have to live in Atlanta anymore. When you worked for WCW, everybody lived in Atlanta or, Atlanta or Tampa, whatever, someplace close. And the way they ran that TVs with a lot of center stage stuff happening in Atlanta and all those other towns real close by within 100 miles, it made it real convenient to live in Atlanta so you could be home more. And when I got hired by WWF, I knew that, hey, man, WWF is way more global, worldwide, United States oriented, than anything else going at the time. And it's the only thing going like that now. So I called my mom and I said, hey, Mom, I'm thinking about moving back to Texas because I don't need to live in Georgia anymore. And let me say this real quick. I love living in Georgia. Loved it. It's a great state, great people. When I used to film Redneck Island over in Lake Hartwell, man, all those people would bring me moonshine and stuff, and it's just a real cool place to live. The piney woods is nice country. But anyway, I got out of there, and my point is, when I ended up in Boerne, Texas, right outside of San Antonio, and had a place about 118 acres, my first little ranch. And anyway, when I moved back to Texas, I said, man, I had a Jeep Grand Cherokee Limited, and I had a black Jeep Cherokee 6-cylinder. And then I had those 2 pickup trucks. So it was one of those times where I think we put all of our shit in 2 U-Haul pickups. And my buddy Danny got in one U-Haul pickup or one U-Haul truck, and I got in the other one. We drove all the way from Douglasville, Georgia. I actually lived in Villarica, Georgia. All the way from Villarica, Georgia to Boerne, Texas. I took him to the airport, flew him back, and I unpacked my U-Hauls. But in making that move, that's when I just said, hey, man, I didn't even have the foresight to think, and I didn't have the money either. So, hey, man, let me keep these things in storage until I get back up on my feet, and then I can ship them down to Texas. Man, that wasn't the mode then. Back then it was survival. Got fired from WCW, had a busted arm, wasn't making no money, got a family, got a mortgage, trying to get a crib. Got all kinds of different problems going on, so I didn't need those 2 trucks then. But, man, I wish I had them now. And when you try to look for stuff in that 65, 66 range, whether it's Ford, Chevy, or whatever, you just can't find anything that's original paint that has that patina. Both mine had original paint, 3 speeds on the column, straight 6, no modifications, no one stuck a V8 in them. Or, just jacked with them. Mine were all bone stock. So I kick myself in the ass about once every month when I start thinking about those pickup trucks. But those 2 trucks I absolutely loved. And that step-side 65 Ford, we used to call that thing Pops. And Pops, every now and then, I guess it had like a short in the horn circuit or the wire or something like that. And every now you'd be driving down the road and old Pops would just start honking, and it didn't have a loud horn on it, but that day they would just kind of just honk at people. And I don't know if it was a ghost driving it or something like out of that song Private Malone from David Ball. But old Pops, god dang, I wish I'd have still had those pickup trucks. But man, I've had a bunch more. I had a 70 GMC with a granny gear and a 350. That thing would pull the front wheels off the ground. My old 98 Z71, my 2002 Z71 blue and silver, that one met its demise. I've had a bunch of pickup trucks, but those would be probably my favorites. And my 03 that I still got here, that's my half-ton. That's great for running errands around town. When you get in that 3/4 ton, that Duramax, if you're just going to run errands, it's a little much just to be parking in town. Now, out here where we live, there's plenty of room for it. But when I took that thing out to L.A. just to haul some shit back to the ranch, you see those work trucks in L.A. traffic all the time. But I'm just saying, they're not the easiest things to get around in L.A. And if you're going to go do underground parking, whole different ball game with the turn radius of those things, especially if you would have opted for the long bed, which is what I wish I would have done. But I'm really enjoying that pickup. Sean says another question. He says, what would you be doing if you'd never gotten a chance to do this podcast? Well, I guess obviously I wouldn't have been able to have a platform to reach the people that I entertained way back in the day from my days in the business of professional wrestling. So I guess I wouldn't have missed anything because I wouldn't have done it, or maybe I wouldn't have known about it. I've enjoyed doing this thing for 5 years, and it's enabled me to keep in touch with some of the fan base that I used to entertain when I would open up a can of whoop ass inside a squared circle. I miss that wrestling business. Well, let me say it like this. I used to miss that business. I have so many great memories of that business. My time came and it went, and I got out when I did. Best job I ever had in my life. And when you get out of the WWF and you lose that platform, which is a global platform, to be an entertainer or get into people's homes via television or pay-per-view, whatever, you build up that audience. And then when I left the business of wrestling in 2003, all these years later, I wasn't planning on going to LA and getting in movies or anything like that or getting into hosting anything. My whole life, I wanted to be a pro wrestler. But when that got taken away from me, I came out and made what I did happen, and I got out of the movie industry. I didn't like that. But this podcast has been really cool to enable me to keep, in touch with the fan base I created. Also, there's people that listen to this podcast that never, they know I wrestled or whatever, but a lot of them just stumbled onto the podcast. So it's been a real cool thing. And I think through the podcast, I was able to break down a lot of barriers. I think people think, from when you watch Stone Cold on Monday Night Raw every single week, I mean, like I've said on this podcast before, if you're new to the show, then you never heard me say it. If you listen to the show, you have heard me say it. There's been so many meetings I've gone to where people, they just think, oh, man, this is Stone Cold Steve Austin I'm meeting. He's going to be mad. He's going to be pissed off. He's going to be belligerent. Maybe he'll be drunk. I don't know. And then, hell, half people didn't think I had a sense of humor. So I've been able to break down a lot of doors, with the podcast, just with respect to, who and what I guess people thought I am or was or whatever. And don't get me wrong, back in the late 1990s, mid-90s, when I was in my run up until 2003, hey, man, I was a frickin' animal. I mean, we lived on the road and we ran hard and we worked hard and played hard. And that is a rough ass line of work. And I enjoyed every bit of it. And so be able to carry over and do this podcast has been a lot of fun. If I'd never gotten a chance to do the podcast, I guess I wouldn't be able to reach all the people. It's funny because I have such a huge UK following. Obviously here in the United States, a great following, but also some of the craziest countries, almost some of them that I never heard of, that listen to the podcast. So it's been awesome. And then as far as, like being able to talk about my beer, my relationship with Kawasaki, cold steel knives, all the stuff that I kind of do on the side, with my Broken Skull IPA, been able to talk about all that stuff and talk about Broken Skull Challenge when it was on, or Redneck Island. Both those got, not renewed, so let's just call them canceled. People are still asking about Broken Skull. It's canceled. But I promoted everything via the podcast, so it made everything come full circle and gave me a voice. And there's times on the podcast where sometimes, as much as I like to talk about wrestling, sometimes I'd rather not talk about wrestling. Sometimes I get, sometimes I just feel like doing Q&As, or sometimes I just feel like telling stories, and sometimes I feel like having guests on there. So I've been able to just kind of be my own boss, rotate whatever the hell I feel like recording, and hopefully, obviously, you want the audience to like it. But it's been good to me. It's been good for me. It does, just like anything. It will have its ups and downs and shit like that. But other than that, man, I've really enjoyed it. Don't know what would have happened had I never done it. Another question from Sean. Man, this dude's doing an interview. He says, with gadgets, do you tend to get the latest new thing, or just wait until your old gadget wears out and get lost? Do you ever purposely lose something just so you can get yourself permission to get the new version of it? Man, I'm a stick in the mud. If my iPhone is working, I'll run that thing in the ground. Well, I usually break them. I got one of these, I can't remember what the brand of this protector is on this summit, but this has been a hell of a damn phone case. I was driving my Kawasaki four-wheeler down the road the other day, and I had this thing on one of those RAM mounts because I was videoing some stuff, and this thing fell out while I was going down the highway at about 65 miles an hour and started skidding down the road. I'm looking for the brand name of it. It ain't an Otterbox. It's something else. That something's just tough. So no, I don't go for the latest greatest, man. You people, I get these damn emails all the time. They say, "Hey, man, the new iPhone X or the new iPhone 10 or the new iPhone whatever is in. And all of a sudden people, they got this big line going out of Apple Store. And I'm like, shit, man, these son bitches are expensive. I got an iPhone, 6 Plus? And man, once I got used to how big that son bitch was, I couldn't imagine going back to the other one. When I grabbed my wife's phone, man, that son bitch is a little bitty. So no, I don't go for the new technology until they start. I don't know if they send out a bug or whatever, but they start jacking with your phone, and then you download the new software, and then all of a sudden the son bitch just starts going on the blink. I don't know if it's a conspiracy or bullshit or whatever, but whenever I wear one out, that's when I'll go get a new one. Sean says, how do you like the Zoom H6N versus the H4N? H6N hands down, but I still have that 4N if I just want to throw it in the center console of my truck and go ride and maybe I'm going to talk to somebody. That thing is real handy for that. So H6 wins just because of the capabilities and the controls and the adjustability on the mic volumes. Last question from Sean. Hell, it's Sean. We did a whole podcast. Steve, have you ever had a Harley or wanted one? If so, which one? Man, I think Harley Davidsons are pretty cool. But I remember when I had that West Coast chopper built by Jesse James way back in the day when I lived in Malibu, California. 4 of the guys from WWF was going to get some choppers built. One guy dropped out. Big Show says, hey, Steve, we're all going to get choppers. They're going to give us a pretty good deal on them. You want one? West Coast choppers. Jesse James is going to build them. I said, yeah, man, sounds good. Anyway, I told you the story. 2 years later, I'm living out in Malibu, California. Here comes a delivery truck bringing this badass shit, about a 9-10 foot long chopper, long ass front forks, black and metal flake flames on the gas tank, a skull in the middle of it. It was unbelievable. I didn't have my motorcycle license. I got on that motorcycle. I rode about 3 miles down the Pacific Coast Highway, right there on the damn ocean, and I did a big-ass U-turn. I drove 3 miles back. Thing didn't even have a mirror on it, didn't have a speedometer on it, had a little bitty-ass brake light on it about the size of my thumb. And then my wife came outside, and she said, we weren't married at the time. She goes, well, what do you think? How is it? I said, it's for sale. And she says, what? And I told her, I said, man, I said, this bike is cool. It's badass. West Coast Choppers is a real deal. Those guys make art, and it's unbelievable. But, man, with no speedometer, a little bitty-ass brake light, that long-ass front fork, I told my wife, I said, there's a lot of things going to happen to me, but the one thing that's not going to happen to me is you're not going to hear about me getting smoked by a car on a Pacific Coast Highway on a West Coast Chopper. So I sold the son of a bitch. I made $10,000. I turned around. That was right after we bought the Broken Skull Ranch down there in Tilden, Texas. And I bought a 105 horsepower Komodo tractor, as my old producer used to say, with air conditioning. And that's what we used to maintain the Broken Skull Ranch for the 10 years that I owned it. So going back to the Harley stuff, Harley's a cool brand. But, man, I'm a Kawasaki guy. If I was going to get a street bike, I would get something by Kawasaki.
Hello, and welcome to Pluto Phone. If you know the name of the movie you would like to see, just stream it for free on Pluto TV, where all your blockbuster favorites are landing all summer long. Catch Anchorman, The Legend of Ron Burgundy.
Fantastic.
The Matrix Trilogy.
Welcome to the real world.
Mean Girls.
Shut up.
Titanic.
I'm the king of the world.
And so much more. For showtimes, press nothing. They're free 24/7.
That is so fetch.
On Pluto TV. Stream now. Pay never.
What if the stories of gods, angels, and ancient technology weren't myths, but memories of alien contact? On Ancient Aliens, we investigate the evidence, from mysterious ruins to strange celestial alignments, asking bold questions about humanity's origins. Could visitors from the stars have influenced our greatest civilizations? Journey into the unknown and challenge what you think you know about history in episodes like Secrets of the Sumerians, Mysteries of the Maya, or The Chosen. We are not alone. Download Ancient Aliens every Thursday, wherever you get your podcasts.
This is the Steve Austin Show.
Man, here's one that really rang home to me because this dude or this person nailed it. This is from JG. whatever JG stands for, this is your question. It said, Steve, on your October 26th podcast, you mentioned that you saw a bear eating garbage while you were in a shit town in Massachusetts. Was it Pittsfield? You came to our local boys club in October 1997. We're out in Berkshire County and have tons of black bears. Had one feasting on the contents of my garbage cans in my garbage this past spring. And you're right. You were probably drunk. You and Brian Lee closed down a local watering hole that night. LOL. Son of a bitch. You are exactly right. Now, it might have been Brian Lee in the car, and we might have closed down a watering hole that night. We probably did. But you're exactly right. It was Pittsfield, Massachusetts. So I didn't mean to call it a shit town as far as disrespecting the town, but when you're driving all these towns, you got your big cities and these little shit towns like I would say Edna, where I grew up. I had a little shit town Edna, or a little shit stain on the side of the road. I mean it affectionately with character, and I'm just talking shit here, so I'm not ever running a city or a town down. JG, you are damn right. It was Pittsfield, Massachusetts. I remember it like it was yesterday, now that you bring that up. Man, if anybody has the contact info for Primetime Brian Lee, I'd appreciate it if you'd email me at questions@steveaustonshow.com. Me and Brian Lee, Brian was a few years ahead of me in the business. I came down to USWA. I was living in Nashville. I was starving. A couple of times, Brian would jump in a car with me and Tom Pritchard when we were forced to ride together. And it was at a time when I was riding with Dutch Mantell and Chris Champion, but something happened to that. Tom Pritchard used to ride with Dirty White Boy, Tony Anthony. Well, Dirty White Boy went to Japan for a couple of weeks. So Tom was riding in White Boy's car all over to the towns, traveling by himself. Well, Dirty White Boy's car broke down. And so I get this phone call. Say, Steve, Tom was riding around in Tony Anthony's car. His butt broke down. Y'all are both staying at the Congress Inn. Is it okay if he rides with you? And I was like, man, at that time, me and Tom, we passed by each other, but he was a veteran and he was a hell of a worker. So, I didn't think he had any business, talking to me. And I said, well, I guess, what am I going to say? Anyway, me and Dr. Tom Pritchard started riding together. And, shit, man, I learned so much riding with Tom Pritchard. It was unbelievable. It turns out that a couple of times when we were driving down the road, Primetime Brian Lee would jump in with us. And that was that time when, Tom was trying to give me a heads up as far as character development goes and asked me what Stunning Steve was, what was so stunning about it. And he asked Primetime Brian Lee, goes, what's so primetime about Brian Lee? Neither one of us had a clue. But I learned a lot from Tom Pritchard. But going back to, you saying I was Brian Lee, man, I never knew what happened to that guy. He was a talented guy, charismatic guy, funny as hell. He was one of the funniest guys in the locker room. If Primetime Brian Lee could have been the Brian Lee that we knew in the locker room, he'd have got over and made millions of dollars. But he was a good worker, good mechanic. I think they brought him in, and he was the fake Undertaker for a while, if I'm not mistaken. But if anybody's got some contact info, I'd love to have him on a podcast. And I'm glad this question came in, and I started segueing about Tom Pritchard because I got a call the other day from Tom Pritchard. Well, I got a text message. I was riding down the road. I was on my way going through Winnemucca to go out to Unit 034 to do my mule deer hunt. And Tom Pritchard said, hey, man, we're starting up a wrestling school. I was wondering if, maybe we could do a podcast and talk about it. And so, man, I haven't talked to Tom Pritchard in years. So I picked up my phone. I had my my Bluetooth on, so I was hands-free driving down the highway in my pickup truck. And I called up Tom, and we hooked up, and I said, hey, man, I said, what's going on? And he said, hey, man, I'd love to be able to do your show and kind of promote the wrestling school we're starting. I said, man, are you kidding me? I said, I'm trying to get away from doing Skype interviews, but I'd love to Skype with you because, man, if you've ever known Tom or if you know anything about him, he does have the gift for gab. There's no hesitation with that guy, and he's a wealth of knowledge about the business. And he helped me so much when I started in the business, and he kind of mentored me, along with Dutch and several other guys. He certainly had his hand there in the mixture, and I learned so much from him. I said, dude, I'll help you promote whatever you got. Man, you was always good to me, so if I can help you out, I'd love to. So Dr. Tom Pritchard will be on the podcast here, maybe next week. But yeah, Pittsfield, Massachusetts, to go way back to that. Send me some contact information if anybody knows what happened to Brian Lee, because I'd love to talk to him. Let's get on to the next. This is from the hometown of Ron Simmons, Hall of Famer Ron Simmons, Warner Robins, Georgia. Steve, what's your first memory or experience with J.R. Jim Ross? What impact did he have on your career in and out of the ring? I love the show no matter what the topic. I've learned much from your experience. Now, as I'm trying to recall the first time I met Jim Ross, I almost can't remember, but I do remember he was, you got to understand, man, I was a huge Bill Watts Mid-South wrestling fan. So, man, I grew up with JR. And, he's not very much older than me, but JR was the man. And then when he went to NWA, that's when I was watching Jim Ross. He was the man. Then all of a sudden, I get a chance to get called up to WCW. He's one of the guys that lobbied for me. And we hit it off. Jim loves football. He knew that I played college football. I wasn't at Ron Simmons' level. I wasn't major college good. I was just good enough to have a scholarship and be on the team. That's as good as I was. But, Jim being in Oklahoma and that Texas-Oklahoma kind of bond, relationship, rivalry, whatever it is, Jim respected and liked football players. He liked guys that were athletic, salty, easy to work with, not, people that are toxic or that are train wrecks or divas are hard to work with. So, man, me and Jim always hit it off, and we became the best of friends. And I'll never forget, sometimes we'd film TV down there in Tucson, whether it's Tucson or Phoenix first. I think we'd film, maybe it was Phoenix. We was heading down to Tucson. Me and Jim would ride down the road, and we'd have a bottle of wine. And I don't know how we started drinking wine. I used to drink wine like a summit way back in the day, but we drink a bottle of red wine between the towns. It's only about 120 miles. Rebook your territory, tell stories. If I ever went to a football game, I would go stay with him and Jan when she was still with us. And, Jim's out doing his own thing now, but man, nothing but respect for him. There's so many great voices, when I go back, I've been watching a lot of stuff on YouTube lately from the USWA, a lot of the Lawler Dundee stuff. And Lance Russell was such a phenomenal storyteller, and that all shucks kind of, demeanor he brought to it, and just a silver-tongued devil, and just rolled into the next sentence and kept talking. And of course, him and Lawler had great banter back and forth. And the Gordon Soley and Bob Caudle, all those guys, there's been so many classics. But Jim Ross, to me, with his range, with his storytelling, with his, he paid his dues. I mean, he learned from the ground up, and his inflection and his ability to watch a match, tell the story, get the talent over with the credibility that he had. He was the shining diamond on top of everyone. So always a good experience with Jim. We continue to this day to be the best of friends. We don't talk as much as we used to because we're going and blowing in different directions. But he was a key part of my entire wrestling career, like so many people were. But as far as the recruitment to WCW, the recruitment to WWF at the time, so there's a lot of history there. And again, if Stone Cold would have took off like it did and had Jim Ross not been on commentary, I do believe I still would have been successful. However, I think I had the success that I did because of the work that we put into it. This is on the WWF end, my end, the synergy, the chemistry, the writing. Vince was a huge part of that, especially when we were going opposite of each other. But without Jim Ross calling that with the emotion and just yelling, that passion-driven style that he had, I don't think it would have been the same. He was the voice of that Attitude Era. He's been the voices of so many eras through Mid-South, NWA, and of course finally WWF, and now he's doing stuff for New Japan. But man, I can't imagine my career, because it's so far removed now, but I cannot imagine my career without the iconic voice of the one and only Jim Ross. Here's a question from Derek over in the Bluegrass State, so I assume that means Kentucky. Hey, Steve, your Q&A podcasts are some of my favorites. Here's a few randoms. Is there any home of Steve Austin signs entering Edna or Victoria, Texas? And he puts in parentheses, there damn sure should be. I'll answer that question first. No, man, there ain't no home of Steve Austin signs in Victoria or Edna, and I lived in both of them. I was born in the great city of Austin, Texas, and then my mom and dad got a divorce, and we moved down to Victoria. And Victoria back then was about 50,000 people. And that's where she met my dad, my stepdad, Ken Williams, who I consider my dad. He adopted us, and then he was selling insurance down there, and he wanted to move up to Edna, 25 miles away, a town of 5,000 people, and open up his own business and go independent. So I lived in Austin, was born there, lived in Victoria and Edna. So, no, there are no signs that say home of Steve Austin. I don't anticipate that there will be, but would it be pretty cool? Of course. But anyway, those times are long gone. He goes on to ask, what's your favorite fast food place? Now, I don't often eat fast food, but if I'm down there in South Texas, if I'm down there visiting in Edna, Texas, the place to go for me, if I'm going to go get fast food, it's one place. It's going to be Sonic. I dig the double jalapeno burger with cheese and a medium vanilla Diet Coke. People always say, Jesus Christ, you're just getting a double cheeseburger with jalapenos. Why not just get a regular Coke? Because I don't like the regular Coke. I like Diet Coke. Or if I was going to mix it with whiskey, I'd go Zero Coke. So I get they're both unhealthy for you. So I get the vanilla Diet Coke. You got to have vanilla in that Diet Coke, or you might as well just throw it out the window. A vanilla Diet Coke from Sonic. And then I'll get, double jalapeno burger with cheese. And then I'll get probably a medium or large order of tater tots. And if I'm really junking it, I'll get a foot-long coney with chili and onions and cheese on that son of a bitch. Sonic is the answer to that question. Derek from the Bluegrass State. I'm going to tell you something right now. When you talk about the Bluegrass State, you're talking about Kentucky. I have been all over the great state of Kentucky. Love wrestling there. Wrestling in Louisville, Kentucky, every single Tuesday night when I was employed by the USWA, the United States Wrestling Alliance or Association, whatever the hell it was. And then when we was over there with WCW maybe, but for sure with WWE, WWF in Lexington and a couple of other damn towns in Kentucky, Bowling Green, I ain't never rolled through there. I ain't never rolled through there and seen no bluegrass. Y'all ain't got no bluegrass. Y'all's grass is the same color as everybody else's grass. It's green. Here's one for you. Derek, if you got some information, I know I've read about it on Wikipedia before. Tell me some information about where that gimmick came from, the Bluegrass State, because y'all's grass ain't blue. It's green. If you watch on TV every now and then, who's that? Boise State got that blue field? That's blue. That's blue. That ain't green. That's blue. It's so blue, it's almost hard to watch the football game. Nonetheless, when I think of blue and you say grass, that ain't blue grass. That's green grass. Derek, I appreciate your questions. Send me some 411 about that bluegrass shit. Oh, man. Here's a question from KC in West by God, Virginia, as he writes. He's proud to be from Virginia. He goes, hey, Steve, do you think Ford will actually produce a new Bronco? It's been teased for years now, but has never happened. Is Ford Motor Company ribbing us? Casey, I don't know. From what I understand, I believe The Rock drove one in one of his movies. I think it was a prototype or something like that. I just got finished driving my 1995 Bronco with 42,000 original miles and a 5.8 motor, the 351, over to do my hike up the side of a mountain. That thing is glorious. Now, here's the thing. To answer your question, I don't know if they're going to produce this thing or not, but I hear it's on the Ranger platform. What's going to happen is, if they do come out with it, if they come out with a small four-door version, it's going to be too small. It's going to be too cramped. It's not going to have enough motor. And if they do the two-door version, which I really have a hard time seeing them do, I wish they would, but here's what's going to happen. It's going to be underpowered, and there's not going to be enough room inside the interior. Here's the thing. I love the early 60s and 70 Broncos, the Gen 1 stuff. And then go to the Gen 2, the 78, the 79. Oh, love those. And then you go through the other gens. But then when you get to that year model that mine is, and the last year they made the Bronco, the XLT, was 1996. That, to me, is the best Bronco to have. That body style, that interior space, with respect to, those other ones. Those are badass too, but I always like the latest technology. There's so much room in those things that what they're going to do is they're going to be too tight. They're going to be too cramped up. It's just not going to have the power, and it's going to be very vanilla. Now, I'm hoping this isn't the case, and I'm hoping that they do make it. And I'm hoping that if they do make it, they put some thought into it. And as they put thought into anything, but I think it's going to be too crampy, and I don't want them to take one of the most iconic vehicles that ever rolled out of Detroit and turn it into a J-Brone vehicle that just blends in with the crowd, because the Bronco was a special vehicle. I always get people when they say to me, my Bronco is white with a silver stripe down the side of it, on the doors, the side panels. Oh, my dogs are sneezing. And everybody says, oh, man, you got the OJ vehicle, the OJ Bronco. Hey, man, F-O-J. That guy ruined the image of the Bronco forever. Al Callen's driving that damn thing down to 405 in Los Angeles all those years ago with OJ in the back like a damn coward. They just ruined the damn image of the Bronco. I can't stand when someone makes that reference about my Bronco. Man, that's one of, okay, I answered my question a while ago about my favorite trucks. I was talking about pickup trucks. And if you want to talk about just trucks as far as cars and stuff like that, hell, that 95 Bronco I got, I'll never sell that son of a bitch. That's how much I like that thing. I treat that so much like a baby. I'm still thinking about getting some new wheels for it. Haven't got them yet. I got the wheels I have on there are the lowest level wheels they got. Well, mine's an XLT. And when I bought it, it had the manual mirrors. It didn't have the electric mirrors that you adjust on the left-hand side of the door. I had those installed at my body shop over there where I used to keep my RV, because those manual mirrors, you couldn't see shit out of them. You couldn't adjust them. So I got the electric ones put on, and other than that, it's all original paint, and they did a damn good job on it. But anyway, hopefully if Ford does decide to make that Bronco, they put some thought into it. They make it macho. They make it badass. They make it the vehicle that it's supposed to be. Don't F it up, Ford. The blue oval's depending on you. Let's move on down the road. Hey, Steve, did you happen to see Damian Lillard wearing Stone Cold garb as he got out of the team bus? What'd you think? Drew in West L.A. Shit, Drew, man, when I saw Damian wearing the Stone Cold stuff, and he had the damn music in the background, he had the swagger with the skinny jeans on, I thought it was awesome. Man, the dude had to walk down. He had to walk down better than I did. A lot of people was ragging on him because he had the skinny jeans, but those things are in style these days, especially for a guy of his build. He's kind of on the slimmer side. I couldn't pull those things up past my calves, but I thought the guy looked like $1 million. I was honored that he chose to go with Stone Cold for Halloween, and I thought he crushed it. So props. I hope y'all have a good season when y'all kick it up over there, but it was awesome. It was good to see. And I want to thank everybody that sent me pictures on Twitter of their Stone Cold outfits when they went out for Halloween, because I always appreciate when people dress up like that. And those masks has come so far. The technology behind those things, it's awesome. But it was cool, man. Let's move on. Here's a damn question coming from Shane down there in Keller, Texas. He says, Steve, this year I'm hunting with my Remington 870 Express and using rifle slugs. Have you or Ted used a shotgun for deer hunting? Did you like it? Any advice or comments on it? Thank you. My brothers and I all grew up down there in Edna, Texas, when we started hunting, and we leased 100 acres right down Country Club Road, and that's where my dad, who was in the insurance business, as I said previously, always ran about 25 head of cow and one bull on the side, and that's where we'd go out and work cows. Or we'd go out to my Uncle Norman's place, who had about 2,000 acres between Edna and Yoakum, where we'd work cows. And that's where we learned how to shoot. We learned how to shoot with an old Columbia break action 410 single shot. We learned how to shoot dove. And my dad taught us one by one as we got old enough to do it. My dad hunted with the Winchester 264 Magnum as his deer gun. But other than that, he was a Remington guy. And he's the one that turned me on to Remington. And Remington is my go-to gun when it comes to rifles. I'm into the Benelli stuff as far as automatics, semis with the shotguns and stuff like that goes. But every one of us, and I still have my Remington 870 shotgun in 20 gauge that my father bought for me, and I think my other brothers probably have theirs as well. And that'll be a gun that I don't use anymore. When I go out, I'll take my 12 gauge because I need all the help I can get. But the 870, I have one. But I've never used a shotgun for deer hunting. I've never used a slug. I know that a shotgun barrel is smooth inside. It doesn't have the rifling. So that's why they put the rifling on the slugs, to give it some spin and to increase the accuracy as it goes down. I don't think the range is probably much over 100 yards. Some states, there's a few that only have, if it's not archery hunting, they have shotgun, slug season, or buckshot, I guess. Because of the pasture sizes or the land sizes, they don't want the bullets to fly too far. So that's why a lot of people hunt the shotgun. Or in close quarter stuff, I guess it's a fine combination, but I've never done it. I don't think Ted has ever done it. Ted shot 1 million birds. We shoot skeet and stuff like that out there, but I don't have any advice or comments on it, but good luck. And if you're in Keller, Texas, because I know the state of Texas, that's where I'm from, why did you decide to hunt with the 870 Express and using rifle slugs versus a rifle? So email me back and let me know that question. Here's one. Hey, Steve, as always, love the show and all the headaches, hassles, and horse shit. I always hear about your dieting and rarely hear how you cook any deer meat or your antelope. Love me some backstrap and tenderloins. Anyway, just curious on how you cook that stuff. Very lean and better than that damn brick flank steak. Thanks, Ryan Weber from Baton Rouge. Man, let me tell you something. Let's talk backstraps and tenderloins. I'm going to cut those things about 3/4 inch thick. I'm going to pound them with a tenderizing hammer, those little gimmick, things, little points. I'll pound it out on both sides, tenderize it. I'll throw it in my eggs and milk, and then throw it in my flour. I will have already salt and peppered my flour, and then I'll salt and pepper after I, put it in the grease, and then I'll cook that one side until one side gets bloody. Flip it over till blood comes out through the other side. Make one more flip. Put it on a paper plate with a couple of paper towels underneath it to absorb that grease. Also, one of my secret ingredients on my backstrap when I'm frying it, I will dust that lightly with cayenne red pepper. And it just gives it a little kick. Now, don't go crazy with that stuff because you light your ass on fire, literally. Just dust it with that. And then I'll always salt and pepper it at that time, too, as well as what I used in that flour when I was making my mix. That's the way I like to cook it. But like I said, man, lately, because I'm on a health kick, I didn't get a mule deer. I'm going to tell you that story on Thursday probably. I got a bunch of good stories from that trip. But that's how I cook my backstrap. I'll also get a lot of that stuff made up into deer burger or antelope burger. I just got finished eating a whole bunch of that. It's very lean. I'll just brown that. But, man, that's the best way. Now, as far as that flank steak goes, man, I got one marinating right now. Get you a flank steak, throw it in a gallon Ziploc bag, squeeze an entire lemon in there, give you about a 7-second pour of Worcestershire sauce, 7-second pour of soy sauce, and then salt that shit out of it, pepper it, and then just zip it up. Every now and then I'll put mustard in there, but I haven't been using that lately. Let that sumbitch sit overnight, 12 hours, and then throw it on your grill, and then use a thermometer. When that thing gets at 135, 137 degrees internal temp, pull it off. You don't want to cook it no more than that, and then let it rest for 10 to 15 minutes. Hey, guys, I'm trying to do a podcast. My dog's in here wrestling. And then cut that thing against the grain and just cut it all up. And then I'll actually cut it the other way because I make little pieces out of it, kind of like barbecue brisket. Anyway, that's my flank steak recipe. God dang it, these dogs are going crazy. They want to go out and exercise. I'll throw a tennis ball. Callie's got my arm in her mouth. Hey, here's a question. He goes, this was a good one. Dude says, hey, Steve, I just caught yesterday's podcast. Great minds think alike. You, sir, will not be the first to have a trailer hitch on your Corvette. I like horsepower and barbecue. Still waiting on you to drop that margarita recipe, Red Corvette. This is from Adam down here in Florida. And he sent me a picture. I think it's a C6 Corvette. Looked like about a 2003. Or was that a C5? Anyway, it's a picture of the red Corvette with a trailer hitch on it hooked to a big-ass barbecue pit on wheels. And that sumbitch is a serious rig. So, yeah, you son of a bitch. Adam, you beat me to the punch. Awesome picture. I appreciate you just sending that to me. And then I have another guy writes in. He goes, this is Dustin. Dustin says, hey, Steve, I've been on the edge of my seat waiting for this famous margarita recipe of yours to drop. You keep teasing it. When will we see it? I got some celebrating to do. I got my 32-ounce Yeti ready to be filled with the best damn margarita I will ever have. I need a new recipe to try it out. Thanks, Dustin. Here's the thing. I've been talking for about an hour on this podcast. So with that being said, with an hour on the memory chip, I'm going to go ahead and shut off the questions, and I'm going to catch a part 2 with these Q&As because I enjoy doing them. Here's the thing. On my next podcast, I promise you I will give you my recipe. It's tweaked a little bit. I didn't invent it. This was handed to me. And I'll drop my famous margarita recipe on my podcast coming up this Thursday. I'll also drop it on my Twitter account at Steve Austin BSR so you can see it written down. And this will put you in the ballpark, and then you can kind of tweak it from there. But this is a damn good margarita. It's one of the best ones I've ever had. And I'll put my margarita, when I make it, up with anybody else's, anywhere, anytime, and that's the bottom line. Again, I'm going to give you something that's going to ballpark you. It's measured out, but then I tweak it a little bit, and I usually add a little bit more tequila, but you don't want to over tequila it because you just want it to be just perfect. You want it to have a little bite, but not too much. So I'm going to drop my margarita recipe. Everybody's been asking. I've been getting hundreds of emails about that sumbitch ever since I've been talking about it. So I'll stop talking about it and I'll do it. But anyway, I'm going to come back and close the show down. I appreciate you guys helping me out while I was out there deer hunting, sending me these questions. I got some cool guests coming through. WWE's coming through L.A. in the middle of November, and I'll be back in L.A. By that time. So hopefully I'll be able to get a couple of those guys in here and get some other stuff going, wrestling related, before we head into the new year, which is 2019. I'm coming right back to close the show down. Thank you for your help. All right, everybody, give me the go-home cue, so I'm going to wrap up this podcast and ride off in the sunset. I answered about an hour's worth of questions. I've got more questions that you guys sent in. I want to say thank you very, very much. I'm going to get into my hunting trip coming up probably Thursday. I will drop the Broken Skull Ranch margarita as well. I got a lot of things going on that really I needed these questions, so I appreciate you guys sending them in. Hopefully I haven't answered too many of the same questions over and over again. Hell, to tell you the truth, I've been hitting the head with so many damn steel chairs. I don't know where to shit or wind my watch, but I want to say thank you for sending the damn questions. Much appreciated. Check it out. If you're thirsty and you want some beer and you like IPAs, the best IPA on the planet is my beer, Broken Skull IPA from El Segundo Brewing Company. You can find it at Whole Foods and Total Wines if you live in Southern California. And if you ain't in Cali, you probably shit out of luck. Stop by the brewery at 140 Main Street and pick up a fresh batch right out of the draft or right out of the freezer in a bottle. And if you're looking to get either the Cold Steel Broken Skull knife or the new Working Man's knife, which I just used a shit pile of on my deer hunting trip, you can get them at my new Amazon store. Amazon's got the best price on both knives. Just go to Amazon.com/shop/Steve Austin or go to the Cold Steel Knives website. I want to say one more thank you to all the fine sponsors of the Steve Austin Show, especially BetOnline.ag, TrueCar, DDP Yoga, Fairworks, and Geico. That's how I'm able to do this podcast for you twice a week for free. Please support them because they support us. If you need more info on my sponsors, check out the show description and this episode for details. I am on social media, Twitter and Instagram at Steve Austin BSR. If there's anybody else out there with a similar handle, it is a fake, an imposter, a jabroni. Do not follow them. Send me an email and notify me. Folks, until the next time, my name is Steve Austin, and I will catch your ass down the road.
This has been a Podcast One production. Download new episodes of The Steve Austin Show every Tuesday at PodcastOne.com. That's PodcastOne.com.
Hello, Hello, and welcome to Pluto Phone. If you know the name of the movie you'd like to see, just stream it for free on Pluto TV, where all your blockbuster favorites are landing all summer long. Catch Anchorman, The Legend of Ron Burgundy.
Fantastic.
The Matrix Trilogy.
Welcome to the real world.
Mean Girls.
Shut up.
Titanic.
I'm the king of the world.
And so much more. For showtimes, press nothing. They're free 24/7.
That is so fetch.
On Pluto TV. Stream now. Pay never.
Think your favorite theme park attraction is world class?
Well, we're putting that claim to the test on For Your Amusement, the podcast where we exhaustively evaluate the world's most popular theme park rides and attractions. I'm Brian Bergara.
And I'm Byron Marin. And on this podcast, we'll hit everything from the legendary classics to the newest headliners in full detail.
That's right. The thrills, the theming, the storytelling, the history, and whether they actually deserve the hype.
One attraction at a time, we're answering the ultimate question.
Is it
truly world class?
We nailed that.
No,
I think that's great.
You love it?
Find out on For Your Amusement.
Follow, rate, and review For Your Amusement wherever you get your podcasts.
Bye-bye.
What if the stories of gods, angels, and ancient technology weren't myths, but memories of alien contact? On Ancient Aliens, we investigate the evidence, from mysterious ruins to strange celestial alignments, asking bold questions about humanity's origins. Could visitors from the stars have influenced our greatest civilizations? Journey into the unknown and challenge what you think you know about history in episodes like Secrets of the Sumerians, Mysteries of the Maya, or The Chosen. We are not alone. Download Ancient Aliens every Thursday, wherever you get your podcasts.